Paul's epistle to the Philippians will be, for a basis, we are looking at chapter 1, verse 6. Philippians 1:6 in the King James Version reads, being confident of this very thing, that he which hath begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. I want to talk to you with this thought in mind. God will see it through. God will see it through. Before I begin this message, I want to give a disclaimer. I'm giving this disclaimer because I'm going to mention some specific places and some specific people, and it's not my intent to slight anyone or to elevate anyone or any place or to slight any place above, slight any place or to elevate anyone or any place above another. I am very grateful for every place I've been, everyone who has been instrumental in my life and development. Some of it positive, some of it negative. But I learned a long time ago that power operates on both negative and positive poles. Some people don't want to deal with the negative. They want everything to be good. They want everything to be positive. But power does not run that way. Energy does not flow that way. Energy flows because of both the presence of both positive and negative. They work together. Or as the Bible says, all things work together for the good of them who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. It was May of 1994. In a dream, I was in a church. I could see that the choir was singing. I was standing just outside of the door to the sanctuary. I could see the choir in all white. I could see the people in all white. And the choir was singing. I could not hear the song they sang, but I saw that they were singing and the people were up praising God. I couldn't hear anything going on in the sanctuary, but I could see everything going on. And there was a gentleman at the door, an usher, who was standing between me and the sanctuary. And I noticed that there's no one in the pulpit. This man turns to me and says, you know what he wants you to do. I conveyed this to my pastor. My pastor asked me, was I sure? I said, I'm sure. He said, pray on it and ask for confirmation. Well, come the next Friday that I was sitting at the church by myself as usual, having left school, going straight to the church because choir rehearsal was that night. I'm sitting and I'm studying for the Sunday school lesson because I taught Sunday school at the time. And someone came to the church door. I'm sitting in the basement, someone's at the door. Whole building's locked, it's just me there. I go open the door to see who it is. There's a gentleman there wearing a black suit, white shirt, black tie, black hat, dark-skinned gentleman, salt and pepper, goatee and hair. I let him in. He introduces himself as Mr. Williams. He asked for a couple of people who, at the time, we were in a search for a musician. So the people he asked for would have been on hand if, they were doing interviews and trials. And he asked if they were there. I said, no, they're not here. They probably are coming later, but I wasn't sure. And he asked what I was doing. I said, well, I'm studying for the Sunday school lesson. And he says to me, you know what he wants you to do. Then he asked where was the washroom. I told him where the washroom was. His words are now in my head. I go back to studying. Mind you, the entire building is locked. I go back to studying. After a few minutes, he hasn't come out. I go to check on him. There's no one there. I checked the entire church. All the doors are locked. No way anybody could get out without a key. This man is not there. I went next door, told my pastor. He told me that was confirmation. I was 17 years old. I was a high school student. And God called me to preach. I was 17 years old. I was living the life of a 17-year-old, and I preached my trial sermon and was licensed to preach. Let me say the first two parts of the last sentence. I was 17 years old. I was living the life of a 17-year-old. You'll catch that later. I was a member of Christian Missionary Baptist Church, the church I grew up at for the most part. At Christian Missionary, just like many other churches, the role of the associate minister was to preach when scheduled, MC the regular service, and play vital roles in the regular service, such as offering, prayer, etc. That basically was it, unless you taught Sunday school, which I was teaching my peers. A few years down the road, some unfavorable occurrences happened in the church. And eventually, because of things that happened, I took a sabbatical. How I'm going to say that. Although my sabbatical was lengthy, I still preached at familiar churches and visited some other churches looking for the church that is the right fit for me. Familiar places. Y'all will hear that again. After being away for a while, I returned to Christian Missionary. I was received with open arms when I returned, and I was happy to be back home. Because I grew up there, I was familiar with everyone, and everyone was familiar with me. Because I grew up there, I had the privilege as a minister of sitting under the former pastor, Reverend John Taylor, and the current pastor, Reverend Robert E. Harper. First time around under Reverend Harper, though. When he became elected as the pastor, I asked him about his vision for the future of the church, and he told me that vision did not include me. Never told me the vision, just told me that I wasn't included in it. While sitting under him this time, we had a one-on-one conversation. And in this conversation, he let me know how he totally disagreed with how Pastor Taylor dealt with me coming into ministry, and how things were about to be very different. Now, I'm not going to belabor the moment with details, but I will say that he told me that one day I would look back on this conversation and thank him for it. This conversation bothered me, it perturbed me, it disturbed me. And it was mostly because this conversation occurred during the wake of Reverend Taylor. Reverend Taylor's laid out in front of church. There's his wake going on, and we're having this conversation about him and what he did wrong, what you perceive he did wrong. I also was upset. Had I not had the respect for him that I did, and had been taught to respect my elders, I probably would have had some not so nice words to say. So after a short time, I left Christian Missionary for good. Nevertheless, some years later, I will tell you, some years later, during one of my visits back to Christian Missionary, I thanked Reverend Harper, and he didn't even know why I was thanking him. I reminded him of that conversation. He didn't even remember the conversation. Well, during this sabbatical, I continued to preach at familiar places and visited churches again, looking for the church as a fit for me. This time I found myself landing at a church that was familiar to me. The church was familiar to me because the pastor was familiar to me. His family was familiar because they came from Christian Missionary, and I had preached at this church numerous times. I am grateful, everybody. I am so grateful to Reverend Ronald Ellis and New Christian Life, House of Prayer and Faith, Missionary Baptist Church, for a couple of reasons, beyond the opportunities that I was given to preach and teach. One reason is how they received me. They welcomed me with open arms. Two, I met a young lady there who stole my heart, even though we're not together anymore. Wow, we had a great time together. I was ordained at New Christian Life. In fact, Reverend Ellis trusted me enough to teach the ordination class that I was a part of. I was honored for that. During my time at New Christian Life, I was a Prayer and Faith Missionary Baptist Church. I was appointed as liaison to the music ministry. I was given lots of responsibilities. I was taught a lot. I was involved a lot in what was going on as far as the workings and decisions in the church. Working with a couple of the deacons and doing repairs around the church. And I enjoyed my time there. It was there that I met a man by the name of Sylvester Weekly, who later became a deacon and then a minister. Lord rest Minister Weekly's soul. But it was Minister Weekly who asked me one day if I was ready to get my suitcase and become a traveling man. But anyway, Reverend Ellis, y'all, love him to this day. Love that church. Even chose me to be his unofficial assistant pastor, representing him and the church when he was not available. But a day came, y'all, when I wanted more. I enjoyed what I was doing. I loved the church. I loved the people. I loved what I was doing, but I felt that there was something missing. I was missing something. And I needed whatever it was, and I couldn't tell you what it was. I just knew something wasn't there for me. And whatever it was, New Christian Life wasn't giving me. And I couldn't tell them what I was looking for. So I had a meeting with the pastor, ministerial staff, the deacons, wanted to talk to everybody as one and express my feelings and see if they can tell me what it is I'm looking for and how to find it, how to get it, if we can work toward it. Unfortunately, I was misunderstood. And it was taken that I was upset with how some things were going around there or not going, and that I wanted more excitement than what they were giving. But they were wrong. I wasn't looking for a feeling. I wasn't looking for a FEELING. I was looking for a FILLING, a feeling. I didn't want a feeling. I wanted a feeling. But before I could leave, I was dismissed. Unbeknownst to me, I mentioned Roosevelt Weekly. It was at his funeral that I found out that I wouldn't consider part of the membership or staff anymore. Oh, wow. Okay. That is how I ended up at one of the churches that I visited during my sabbatical. And even at the end of sabbaticals, I kept visiting that church for a long time. I visited so long that people thought I was a member. At Trinity United Church of Christ, under the pastorates of Reverend Dr. Jeremiah A. Wright Jr. and Reverend Otis Moses III, I learned what it is to serve. At Trinity, I learned the dynamics of ministry and theology. At Trinity, I learned some things that I did not learn in the churches I'd been a member of or at the Chicago Baptist Institute where I studied. I knew what it was to conduct a service. I knew what it was to teach. I knew what it was to preach. I knew what it was to work, but I did not know what it was to do ministry. I did not know what it was to do the things we talked about in church, how we talked about neighborhood issues, how we talked about world issues, but we only passed the bag. We never did anything. Now I know what it feels like to do these things. I know what it feels like to serve. I know what it feels like to really lead. I found that something that was missing. That feeling I was missing. The instruction and guidance that I received. Wow. During my time at Trinity, I continued to preach in many places that I was familiar with and had some places added. During my time at Trinity, I flourished greatly. During my time at Trinity, I served in several capacities with several different ministries and groups, and I cannot tell you what all it has done for me and to me in one sitting. The connections, the lessons, the blessings, I just can't tell it all. It was Reverend Arthur Billings, who was a member of Christian Missionary, who on one of my visits home asked where I was at now. When I told him I was at Trinity, he said, "Oh, you at Trinity? You go learn some stuff now. That's where preachers go to learn to become pastors." See, that's a learning church. They say right hand to God, my lips to God's ears, however you want to put it. Trinity did not disappoint. Well, life happened, and I ended up moving from Oak Park, Illinois to Gary, Indiana. As I was looking for a place in Indiana, I spoke with a friend of mine who is a pastor in Indiana, and I asked him, if I should happen to move to Gary, can I join your church? He was familiar to me. He would go that familiarity. And I had visited his church a few times. So some of them were familiar to me. And I just knew without a shadow of doubt, because of where I knew him from, he was doing the doggone thing in Gary, and I wanted to join in. I wanted to join in because as I rode around Gary, the text from Ezekiel about the dry bones came into my mind and my heart. And I saw Gary as a city of dry bones waiting to be prophesied over and to. I wanted to join in because I saw Gary as fertile ground waiting to be cultivated and renewed. I wanted to join in with Trinity United Church of Christ in Gary and get to work on and in Gary. I joined Trinity Gary just a few months before the pandemic began, and I was ready to get to work. I had my boots on, laced up, ready to hit the ground. But things were not as though I thought they would be. I won't say I was sold the bill of goods. I just expected it to be more like Trinity Chicago, just on a smaller scale. And my expectations were not met. Not that they aren't doing anything or weren't doing anything. I just expected more. One day, one of the ministers at Trinity Gary asked me if I was a minister, and I told him yes. I don't remember what the occasion was, but I remember that Reverend Wright was there preaching, and the executive minister, Reverend Charles Dockery, my friend, who just popped in, had asked if I would do security that day because we had Reverend Wright coming to preach. So I'm sitting on the front row. That's why I was asked, was I a minister? I said yes, and I also explained that Doc wanted me to sit up there because Reb go be there. So I'm sitting up there with Reb. So when this minister asked the pastor if he knew I was a minister, he said no. Because of my familiarity with this pastor, I know that he should have known, because he was one of the ones to recommend me for the ministers in training at Trinity Chicago. And I know that once upon a time he told me to give him a DVD or CD of me preaching, and I did that. So I don't know if he had never watched it or if he forgot. Either way, I was forgotten. The pandemic happened. Church was closed. Y'all know the rest. Y'all know how that went. Everything slowly reopened. We masked, we separated. People really slowly get around doing anything. So, once things began to reopen, although I felt overlooked, I came back, was ready, boots on, laced up, tied tight, ready to get to work again. And on multiple occasions, I had conversations before and after the pandemic with the pastor about being active, about doing stuff, getting involved, making things happen around there. And I was given a runaround every time, more or less. There's a proverbial saying in leadership. Nobody wants to be ignored, especially by the leader. Let me say that again. Nobody wants to be ignored, especially by the leader. There was a fire in me that had began in me since forever. And I was tired of saying, put me in the game, coach. I began to search for a place that I can get on the field. Somewhere I could get in the game. Somewhere I could get active. Somewhere I could do some things and make some things happen. And I talked to God about it. Here I am on the search again. But I was looking instead of listening. And for that reason, I was getting nowhere. Sometimes you got to listen instead of looking. Then one day the Lord spoke to me at a random moment when I wasn't even thinking or talking about it and gave me my marching orders. The year was 2023. And the Lord told me to go live starting in April on Facebook and YouTube at 6 a.m. preaching his word. God gave me this assignment, and 2 years later, wow. 2 years later, wow. God has not disappointed in giving me a word to give the people every single week. The Sunday Morning Breakfast Podcast is not my vision. It was not my vision. It was not my thought. It is the vision that was given to me. It was the assignment that was given to me. And I'm not going to lie. I was nervous. I questioned if people would watch. It's me. Come on, Kanye. Leave that alone. It sounded crazy to me. 6 a.m.? Who gonna be watching at 6 a.m.? I didn't think nobody be watching. As people say, but God. But God, because people watch at 6 a.m., people watch later on. They catch it later. Since that time, 2 years ago, God has added a segment called Breakfast Nuggets. And the live is on Facebook and Instagram now, with all the videos being uploaded to my YouTube channel, doing Breakfast Nuggets on other social media that just, it's a quick 60-second or less version of the sermon. Nobody could have told me back at 17, y'all, that I would be pastoring, doing the work of Jesus Ministries, hosting the Sunday Morning Breakfast Podcast, or doing, you can't even call them sermonettes, micro sermons on social media. According to our text, God began a good work in me years ago, y'all. And I know he will see it through to the end. I'm so grateful, y'all. The tears are y'all just understand what God has done for me and what this means to me, for him to use me like this. I don't know what or where the end is, but I'm going to follow him all the way because he has never disappointed me. He has never forgotten me. He has never overlooked me. He has never let me down. He has never failed to meet my expectations. He has always gone above and beyond what I ever thought could happen. Isaiah 55, 10 and 11, y'all, in the Lexham English Bible says, "For just as the rain and the snow come down from heaven, and they do not return there except they have watered the earth thoroughly and caused it to bring forth and sprout, and give seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word that goes out from my mouth. It shall not return to me without success, but shall accomplish what I desire and be successful in the thing for which I send it." My prayer every week, y'all, when I'm building these sermons, when I'm working on them, when I'm studying, and when I'm done, Lord, I thank the Lord for using me, and I thank him for the word, and I let him know it. I know that his word will not go forth and return it to him void. Even if only one person listens, 1 or 1 million, it's going to do what it meant to do because it's going to be for that one. And I thank him for using me because he could have used anybody in the world. But he chose little old me. Our text says, being confident of this very thing, that he which have begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ, or until the end. That goes beyond you and me. It's just going to keep going until it accomplishes what he sent it for. That was Paul's encouragement to the Philippians. And here's my encouragement to you. I don't know what God has called you to do. I don't know where God has called you to be. I don't know how God has called you to do what he has called you to do. But I want to encourage you today to not let nothing or no one turn you away from what God has put in you. That's the whole message. That's why I went through my journey. That brief, I know it seemed long, but that brief version of my journey. Because I want you to know, people and things will try to stop you. Don't let them. Don't let go of what God has given you. Don't let go of what God has given you because of situations and circumstances. Don't let go of what God has given you because of people and places. Don't let go of what God has given you because of people's opinions. Don't let go. Don't let go. Don't let go. Keep your holding on to God and listen to God, and he will see it through all the way to the end. And his word will not go forth and return unto him void. I don't know what your assignment is, what your assignment will be. If you haven't received your marching orders yet, I don't know. But I want to close today with a word of prayer. A word of prayer based on the song, Lord, I'm Available to You by Milton Brunson and Thompson Community Singers. Pray with me. You gave me my hands to reach out to man, to show him your love and your perfect plan. You gave me my ears. I can hear your voice so clear. I can hear the cries of sinners, but cannot wipe away their tears. You gave me my voice to speak your word, to sing all your praises to those who never heard. But with my eyes, I see a need for more availability. I've seen hearts that have been broken. So many people to be free. Lord, I'm available to you. My will I give to you. I'll do what you say do. Use me, Lord, to show someone the way and enable me to say that my storage is empty and I'm available to you. Now I'm giving back to you, Lord, the tools you gave to me. My hands, my ears, my voice, my eyes, so you can use them as you please. I've emptied out my cup so that you may fill me up. Now I'm free. I just want to be more available to you. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank y'all for 2 years. This is the anniversary. Thank y'all so much. As always, I don't ask for anything. Totally free. I don't ask for nothing. Don't donate. Don't give. Don't send. That's why you got my Cash App and my Zelle and PayPal up there. Do something great for somebody today. Be blessed. I love you. God loves you. Ain't a dadgum thing you, me, and anybody else can do about it.